Welcome to this podcast episode in Starseed Gathering, this lovely sacred place where I help people sharing their spiritual business. You will hear about a specific guest today that has so many gifts for the world, and I'm very excited for you to be here. Just open your heart and allow anything that is shared during this conversation to touch your soul and your heart on the highest level. And if you need any more support, you can contact the guest with the links below and myself also linked below. So wishing you a beautiful podcast episode listening right now. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to my podcast that I've created a year and some months ago. I'm actually very excited to have Jasmine with me today. She is a wonderful soul that uses so many tools to support people. And this podcast is called Starseed Gathering. It's really about showcasing people around the globe that are helping others finding their way, and you're a soul business mentor of your own kind. And I would love for you to explain, if you want, Jasmine, what you actually do, how you came about what you're doing, if you want to talk about your spiritual awakening, whatever feels really right for you to share with the audience. And we're super excited to have you today with us.
Beautiful. Thank you. I'm super excited to be here and to be able to chat with you and share a little bit about me and my purpose and my journey. So I always find it really difficult to condense into words who I am and what I do, because there's so many different aspects to it, right? But I'm a coach, I'm a healer, and I'm a mystic. And I guess my purpose this lifetime is to support other healers, light workers, medicine women, mystic, to really come into their unique soul purposes and to confidently step into their purpose, their power, and their gifts. So I work with lots of different tools, but two of the main tools that I work with that I'm going to talk a little bit more about today are soul plan numerology and the akashic records. And I find that these two tools work so powerfully together to help us to understand who we truly are, what our purpose is, because we all have a unique purpose, right? We're not all placed on this earth to do exactly the same thing, because that would be pretty boring. So what I'm all about is helping people to know what their unique purpose is, their unique energies, their unique gifts, which we can reveal through the soul plan numerology, and then using the akashic records to activate those gifts and to also clear through any limiting beliefs, any challenges, any fears, any blocks, to really propel the women that I work with into their destiny, really, and into their purpose and their power and their gifts, which is a journey that I've been on over the past kind of five or 6 years now, from my spiritual remembering, I call it, rather than a spiritual awakening. I think it was more of a return back home rather than an awakening. So that's me in a bit of a nutshell.
That's so exciting, because I think and we were talking just a little bit a couple of times, and we were like, oh my God, what exactly the tools we use are a little different. I also do akashic records with my clients and any past lives that will come in. It's just, at least I think what I find is, once you open all of those doors, there's so many things that can come through, and that's what feels exciting, because then we have so many tools to help people remember the path they're on. And that's what is coming up when you're talking, is you have tools to help people find their way more easily onto their mission. It's you can try so many different things. I remember when I did the courses I did, I was like, I'm able to connect with people that have crossed over. But I was like, no, this is not my mission. But I mean, if we're in a session and you have somebody coming in, it's really important to you, I'll bring this person. But I knew that mediumship was not my path. So, and I think a lot of people do so many courses and they get confused. They're like, I have many gifts, but what do I do with that? So I love that the tools that you have seem to, well, they're showing me how the tool that you're using is really connected to source, right? To your higher self. So it's this is your plan that you chose for this incarnation. So let us read it together and make it easier for you to find your way through this incarnation. And I'm pretty sure that, well, all of us, right, when we're actually in our true mission, this is so much easier to move
Yeah.
forward. And there's so much more support because it's like, yeah, that's actually your path. Let's do it.
100%. Yeah, things flow much more easily. And I really resonate with what you said because that's kind of how my journey began 5 or 6 years ago. I was in that space where I was just interested in everything. I was like trying all different things, and I was very much in that energy of, oh, do I want to work with crystals, or is it Reiki, or is it X, Y, and Z mediumship? I dabbled my toes in as well. And it was like, yeah, none of it was quite like sticking. And then I was ending up just feeling completely overwhelmed and confused because I was like, oh, maybe I'm not meant to do any of it, kind of thing. And it was then the universe heard, and it was then that soul plan numerology fell onto my path in such a crazy way. So it literally, not many people have heard of it. I can't remember if I asked you before, had you heard of it before, the numerology based on the name? You
Yes,
had.
I
Yeah.
had one reading. There's a beautiful lady in the UK. I believe she is in the UK, and she does readings. I had one 2 3 years ago, which was really confirming a few things that I already knew
Yeah.
about myself, like making it more concrete, I think.
Yeah.
And then also adding up onto other things that I was like, oh, this is very interesting. Like it gave me a bit of direction. But I'm not so versed into like how it works and all of the ins and
Right.
outs. But I would really love for you to tell us how it actually came about in your
Yeah.
life.
100%. Yeah. So, yeah, as I was saying, I was kind of like in the early stages of my spiritual remembering, and I was like trying all of the different things, but feeling completely confused about what direction to head in. So, I was working as a social worker at the time with disabled children and their families, and I'd been doing that for 7 years. And it came to a point where it was like all of a sudden my body and my soul were rejecting that career. Like I'd loved it up until then. I thought that was what I was going to be doing forever until retirement. I thought I'd found my purpose. And then kind of over time, I just started to feel off. And at the time I didn't know what it was. I now realize I was receiving the signs that it was time to move on and to leave. But I just started to feel so out of sorts, so out of place, like I didn't belong, like I couldn't be my true self. Started experiencing really high levels of anxiety, fatigue, burnout, because as well back then I wasn't aware of how energetically sensitive I am or how much of an empath I am. I didn't have any of the tools that I have now to protect my energy. And it got so bad that I ended up experiencing severe burnout where I was literally like bedbound. I couldn't get out of bed because I was just so, my body and soul were just telling me you need to make a change. And I resisted it for quite a long time because I didn't know what change I was going to make. So I was in that energy, not really knowing what I wanted to do. And I went ahead and booked onto Reiki practitioner training because that seemed to be, most people were doing that. That seemed to be like the thing to do. But again, like my soul wasn't completely in it. I was kind of just doing it because I thought that was what I needed to do. And then just before the training was meant to start, like a couple of days before, I remember I was on my lunch break from social work. I was walking around the park and I got an email. I got an email to say that it had been cancelled unexpectedly. And I was really upset. I was like, oh, what am I going to do now then? Like that was going to be my next step to leaving social work. And I think it was the very same day. I was then just like scrolling Instagram, like asking the universe for a sign, and this advert popped up for soul plan numerology practitioner training, and it just said something like, are you at a crossroads in your life and journey, like questioning your next steps, questioning your purpose? I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I clicked on it, and the training landed on the exact date that my Reiki training had been cancelled. And I was just like, okay, that's a sign.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't really know much about it at all. I don't think I even read through the whole sales page. I just booked on. And really, that was like one of the first big choices that I made that was completely guided by my intuition, my soul, right? So I went ahead, I did the training back in, I think it was 2019. And I then kind of sat on it for a while. I went ahead and got the confidence to leave my social work job in early 2020. I took on just some part-time nannying work. I was still kind of interested in the spiritual stuff, but again, I wasn't quite sure how it was all gonna pan out. And then it was in the lockdown, as I think happened for so many people when we had that time to reconnect. I went back to the training and it was like all of a sudden I got the green light. Okay, like why have you not been offering this as a service? You've just been like sitting on it for however long, like 6 months to a year. Like it's time now to start offering this. So then April 2020, launched the business, originally offering the soul plan numerology readings, and it took off pretty quick because I believe, as you said, it was aligned. It was what I was meant to be doing. So there was no real force that had to happen, and people were interested in coming for readings. And then everything has kind of evolved since then. So I then went on to do coaching, certification and train in the Akashic records. And yeah, now I use a combination of all of the tools to support the women that I work with to align with their true path and to activate their gifts, which the soul plan numerology brings out. It really brings out your unique gifts, which I think we're going to talk about in a minute as well, in terms of my own chart, but also what I can see from your chart as well.
Yeah.
Example.
We were just saying like how much similarities we have
Yeah.
because I was also a social worker. For me, it was a post-traumatic stress disorder that happened in 2015 that made me question the whole of my life, right? My
Yeah.
relationship and my family and then my job and everything. And I was still kind of pushing towards like, oh, I'm going to stay in healthcare, but I'm going to become a clinical coordinator and then I'm going to become a manager. And I was like, yeah, it's okay. But I knew inside of me that it was not my path, right? And it's
Mm.
exactly during 2020 when I was doing all of those courses, after having done all of those courses, that I was like, all right, enough now. You have to use those gifts and you can do it. And as you said, the ego is going to tell us you need those certification to be able to leave. You can't just leave like that, right? You
Yeah.
need a bridge. So whatever bridge you choose, but choose one. And then it takes courage. Let's say like leaving a job with insurance, with whatever retirement plan, although
Yeah.
I've never been attached to that, but still it's still like very ingrained to who we are as a society. So like leaving that and starting your own business and like just, you take the leap and you're like, man, if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I know I have angels. I know I'm gonna have support and it's going to work out.
100%. Yeah. And I've also made recently another quite scary leap of faith. So I'd been working part-time consistently up until a few months ago. And then in June, I got that soul nudge again, like it's time to let go of the part-time job and really, really go all in on your soul purpose work. So yeah, that's the journey that I've been on over the past few months again. And it's like, yeah, like another big initiation into the next phase and the next chapter, right?
Every time. And I know you're also supporting spiritual entrepreneurs. And what I love doing is also like showing them that everything has a reason. And we have so many initiations through this work, but it's because we have so much to offer. And this path of being a spiritual entrepreneur brings up to the surface what is not aligned, and you have to clear, you have to heal. And it's just such a big process.
Yeah.
But remembering that you have all of these tools now, like you said, like if we would go back now as a social worker, which I don't think we would, but, but we would be so much more, it would
Yeah.
be easier energetically, at least putting protections and like being like, okay, clearing my energy. I knew nothing about that either.
Same.
And
Yeah.
I was like completely wiped out every
Yeah.
time I was going back home after work. And
Yeah.
that was not healthy, right? So and now it's more you use source energy and your own higher self's energy when you work and you're feeling motivated and activated after your session. Such a different energy that we're actually currently using as in their daily work, right?
It's so different. Yeah. You just think though, if more social workers knew about this type of thing, like how much of a difference that would make on the profession and but also on the actual work that they're doing with clients, right? But it's just so unheard of still.
Definitely. So you want to
Mm.
share a bit more about your soul path and
Yeah.
everything so that we have a bit more information and more insight about how it looks like.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe I'll start by just talking a little bit about how it works and what it is for anyone who hasn't heard of it. Because as I said before, not many people still know about it. It's quite a unique system still. So yeah, soul plan numerology. So it has its roots in Hebrew numerology, it's a very ancient system that goes all the way back to one of the books of creation, the Sefer Yetzirah, and it's based on the Hebrew alphabet and the numerology of the letters of our name. So it's based on the idea that as well as choosing the date of birth, place of birth, time of birth, all of that our soul chose our birth name as well. And the reason our soul chose the birth name is because the physical sound vibrations that the name carries impacts the experiences that we have, the energies that we attract, the energies that we draw into our reality. And we've chosen that for a reason. Like, we've chosen the journey that our soul is to go on this lifetime. So all of this can be revealed within the soul plan numerology. Is quite a complex mathematical system of transferring the letters into numbers. I just use a computer system to to make it easier. But what you end up with is 7 different aspects of your soul plan chart, which are the worldly aspects and the spiritual aspects. So the worldly aspects refers to the more material, physical, day-to-day kind of aspects of the journey. And then the spiritual aspects refers to that point in which we start to search for deeper meaning, right? That time that we both experienced when we started to question the job that we were doing, the way that we were living our life. That's when we move into the spiritual aspects of the chart. So that's usually when people find tools like this, soul plan numerology, for example, when they're starting to move out of the worldly and into the spiritual. For some people, it's maybe much later on in life that they start to move into the spiritual. For some people, not at all this lifetime, and maybe in another lifetime they're going to connect to it. But anyone who's called towards the system, you're going to know that they've started to enter the spiritual aspects of their journey. So I guess when soul plan found me, I was just starting to move out of the worldly aspects of my journey and into the spiritual. And I remember something that I was really experiencing at the time, a specific challenge that I was really experiencing back then was all around my expression. So as I was starting to experience a lot of anxiety in my social work career, and just starting to question the friendships that I had, the way I was living my life, all of these things I was questioning, it led to this big limiting belief that I couldn't use my voice, that I couldn't speak for myself, that I wasn't able to share my message. And the anxiety kind of resulted in me just like wanting to shut down my voice completely. That was one of the biggest things that I was struggling with back then. And I remember when I did the soul plan training, what it revealed to me was actually one of my biggest gifts and strengths this lifetime is my expression. But I was at that time within the challenge, within the shadow aspect of it. So what connecting to my soul plan numerology really helped me to do at that time was to transmute that challenge into a strength and a gift. And it really did support that process because it gave me the motivation to work through that, to heal the limiting beliefs that I was experiencing, and to start then sharing my voice and talking about what I was experiencing, talking about my passions. So then now I use my voice all of the time, right? And I'm sharing my truth every single day. So that was really, really powerful. Other aspects of my soul plan numerology that really stood out to me, a big one was the energy of number 7, which interestingly is your most common energy as well. You probably remember this. You've got it showing up 4 different times within your chart. I think I've got it showing up twice. So for both of us, it's our what we call a common energy, a dominant energy. And this is all about community. This is all about bringing people together and opening our heart and drawing like-minded soulful connections towards us. So I'm no surprise that we've been drawn together with all of this 7 energy. It's like it's an open-hearted energy. So what this really revealed to me at the time when I connected to it within my soul plan numerology was that I had a purpose this lifetime to find my people and to call those people in, because at the time I felt quite lonely and isolated as well, because no one that I was kind of none of the friends that I had at the time, or no one that I was working with, was on the same path as me, right? It felt like I was speaking a whole different language or on a whole different journey. And then when this was revealed in my soul plan, okay, part of your mission is to call these people in and to find these people. That really helped me to put myself out there and to start openly calling in these relationships and these connections. And then that's resulted in now a huge part of my soul purpose work is about community and sisterhood. Like group journeys are my speciality, holding group spaces, retreats. And I have so much confidence in that now because I can see within my numerology that that's who I am. That's what I've chosen to do this lifetime. So that was really, really powerful as well.
Yeah, I totally can so feel within me that I had also those challenges of feeling like the outcast, and like, and I think that once you chose this path and you're more conscious of this path, you're like, well, I don't have to wait for this community to come to me.
Right.
I can
Yeah.
actually create things and gather people together and then feel how it's going to be. And I've been also being called to create more, and I'm actually creating something today for spiritual entrepreneurs too. And I'm like just feeling this, it just feels so good when I can feel that people that they want to co-create together and just connect heart to heart and be authentic together. It just make it feels me so much, my heart, my energy rises. It just feels so good. And I think that that's very beautiful that it's actually in the chart, isn't it?
Yeah, it's such a huge part of who you are. Like, unless you're surrounded by like-minded people, you're not gonna feel at home. You're not gonna feel complete. And the same for me. It's such a huge part of who I am. The other aspect of the seven as well is about owning the different parts of you and the different sides of you as well, and integrating all of the different parts. And authenticity is a huge part of this energy as well. And that authenticity is such a huge part of my business, value of my business. Like, I always say it to all of my clients, I'm like, authenticity is the most magnetic frequency. As long as you're showing up authentically in line with your energies, in line with your blueprint and your gifts, that's so much more magnetic and impactful than any strategy that I can give you. And I have quite a unique way actually of supporting my clients with business, because it literally is mainly based on authenticity. Of course, we need a bit of strategy, but for me, I'm like, show up authentically, speak your truth, be who you are, and that's what's going to magnetize your people and your soul clients towards you. And that really has been the basis that I've built my business on, for sure.
Yeah, because that's the part I think with all of the maybe the people that we see, right? The spiritual teachers and all of those people that have a lot of followers. When you're starting, you're like, I don't know who I am. I don't know. Is there a
Yeah.
place for me? And you're trying to like find a niche, or you're trying to find a way to kind of stand out. But at the same time, it's not so much the how, it's like who you are. And as you said, like this frequency that we have, like people connect to us, and some people will be like, ah, no, that's not for me. And others will be like, yeah, that's actually this is the energy I want to connect to. This is the energy and the person. I know this person has the tool to support me. And it's not to put masking identities on top of you, which we all have had since we were little. It's actually taking them off and being like, this is who I am right now. And let me share with you my story so that it can help you also create something better for yourself. I think authenticity, although sometimes challenging, right? Because there's still this social pressure of like how we're supposed to actually show ourselves out there in social media, on the web, everything. So like being able to acknowledge what you need, and also being very transparent with the ups and downs of having a business and having to show up and everything that comes with it, right?
100%. Yeah, I'm so passionate about supporting women to feel safe, to be vulnerable and authentic, because I don't think we see enough of it still. I think things are changing and shifting, but I still don't think we see enough of the rawness and the authenticity and the vulnerability. And I still think there's quite a lot of people following what they think they should be doing rather than actually what they're meant to be doing, or what they desire to do. They're operating from shoulds. And again, that's why I'm so passionate about the soul plan numerology, because it brings you back home to your soul, your frequency, your desires, your truth, rather than other people's ideas and projections about the path that you should be following. So yeah, I just think everyone should know about it. Everyone needs to know about their soul plan numerology.
Definitely, definitely. what else can you share about your numerology or mine, whichever you want to share about that's very standing out and that's kind of
Yeah. Let me tap in and see what stands out. I think for you, you have an awful lot of creative energy within your chart as well, within your birth name one. So you have two of the most creative energies. So you have the 6-6, which is all about thought and creativity, and you have the 4-4, which is all about fertility and abundance. But this is interesting. So you have these two energies as your talent and your challenge. So it's almost, and this can be quite common for people. I think I can't remember how it shows up in mine, but I think it's probably to do with the expression piece that I spoke about. It's like what we naturally excel at, we also doubt ourselves in, right? So it's like this constant kind of juggling or balancing act to try and come into balance. So this plays out so often with clients that I work with, and I think seeing it, having it revealed within your soul plan numerology, it just gives you that permission slip to really roll with the strengths and to kind of like turn down the volume on the voice of the doubts, right? So for you, the way that this might show up, it's within your spiritual talents and your spiritual challenges. So for you, it probably shows up as like you've got all of these ideas, all of this like creative energy in terms of how you want to express yourself and your soul and your mission, but then sometimes you can stop yourself from taking the action because the fear or the doubt crops up, or it's that thing of, oh, there's too much, there's too many ideas, like where do I begin, what do I focus on first? So when you can see this, when you can see how this plays out, when you've got the awareness of it, what you then find moving forwards is like you'll catch yourself in that pattern of wanting to maybe not take the action, or when you're falling into the overwhelm or the confusion and you're like, oh, okay, that's that energy within my soul plan numerology that's playing out. This is what I need to do. I need to prioritize, or I need to come back to me. I need to come back to my soul. I need to come back to my mission. So it really brings that awareness, I feel as though, and people say to me, like years down the line after they've had a reading, like something will happen, it will remind them of the reading, and they'll then go back to it and then implement the tools that we spoke about. So that's the thing as well. It's not just a case of sitting for an hour and receiving this information. It shifts your awareness, like moving forward long term. It's like a lifelong tool that you can carry forth with you. So yeah, do you feel that plays out with the creativity stuff?
Yeah, I think for me, I have a lot of ideas. Like, I think sometimes I can get maybe overwhelmed by my own creative energies. It's like, oh, I could do this, I could do that, I could do this. And then at some point it's like, well, you gotta have a plan, Adele, right? There's like this kind of 3D thinking, or like this Virgo energy coming in is like,
Yeah,
have a plan, choose something. And what has helped me, because sometimes, yes, I think a lot when I was younger, less and less when with the awareness, the consciousness that's evolving, but I would put my ideas, I would not do anything about it. Like I would
yeah,
just say, like, okay, no, I'm just gonna freeze those ideas and they'll pop if it's meant to be, right? But I was not in action. But I was also feeling very low. And I know that my creativity is my fuel. So if I'm not using it, I'm feeling super out of alignment. And now what happens is that I'm gonna have lots of ideas, but I'm gonna be more I allow myself to be more spontaneous with my things. So like I had an idea this week, it's been merging, and today I'm like, okay, I'm putting a post, I'm doing it. And
yeah,
because I'm having this kind of, it feels energetically like a little fire that becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And then today I'm like, you know what? That's the day. And whatever happens, it happens. And I know when I'm in this kind of expanded energy, that
yeah,
also that attracts the people that are supposed to be
right,
in part of this thing, because again, this project is something community, right? Relation, like, so it's
right.
creative
Something you're
and
passionate about.
community together. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. So yeah, what you moved through there is an example of you like moving through the spiritual challenge of like having all of the ideas or feeling overwhelmed or kind of overthinking it. You've kind of moved out of that challenge and you've tapped into the spiritual talent of putting the thing out there, allowing the vision to be birthed, allowing the project to be birthed, and trusting that if it, if it's aligned, then it will come into fruition. That's actually one of the biggest lessons that I'm moving through right now. So I feel as though I'm kind of within my spiritual goal of my journey right now, which is the energy of 20 and 2, which is the energy of movement, flow, and seeking. And this is all about like being in complete trust and surrender and releasing control. And I feel like this is, yeah, one of the biggest initiations that I've been moving through over the past few months since I left the safety of my part-time job, right? I'm like in this energy of really flowing, really surrendering, really trusting the universe. So that's really powerful again to see like where I'm at in my chart and my journey, and how I can anchor in this energy and how I can allow it to serve me and allow it to support me through this season of my life and my journey. And it's really about the feminine, being within the feminine, trusting the feminine, and surrendering the mind and the logic almost, and really being connected in with the soul. So yeah, that's really powerful to be moving through that part of my journey right now.
How do you know when you look at the chart where you're at now? Like, how does that work, that part?
I just kind of feel it intuitively. I think there's no kind of set timelines of when, as and when you're going to be moving through certain aspects of the chart, but I can just feel it intuitively. So for example, back 5 years ago when it was revealed to me, oh, your gift is expression, I knew that I wasn't within the talent energy of that. I kind of knew I was in the shadow of it. Whereas now I can see that I've moved through the challenge and I'm embodying it as a strength and a gift. And when I think about the spiritual goal, where I can kind of feel that before I wasn't working towards that goal because I didn't have complete trust. I wasn't in complete surrender. I was trying to control, or I was clinging on to old patterns, old beliefs, or old systems that weren't serving. Whereas now I've surrendered them and I can see, okay, you're in this energy now, you're being carried, you're in this like trusting energy. So yeah, really I just kind of can feel it from the intuitively from the energy of the chart. And usually when I'm doing a session with someone, I can intuitively feel, oh, okay, you're within that challenge, or you're starting to activate these gifts, or you're starting to work towards these goals. And then the overall soul destiny, which is the version of us who's been on a journey of anchoring in the talents and gifts, working towards the goals, moving through the challenges. That's a lifelong journey to get there. That's not, you're not necessarily going to have your reading and then be fully embodying your soul destiny, but what having a reading can do is help you to get there more quickly, right? And most people who come to me for a reading are aware of that soul destiny and they're already on the journey of aligning with it. And then having the reading, it just helps you to move more quickly towards it, and to come into alignment sooner than you having to like figure it all out yourself, right? And keep trying different things, and yeah, not kind of knowing exactly how to get there.
Hmm. And I'm curious, how do you apply it to the business that somebody is doing? Like, how can you apply this knowledge and all of the information that's gathered? I understand like the gifts and the talents, the challenges, so that
Mm-hmm.
people know in what phases maybe they are. But is there anything else than what you already shared that you're using when you're using the chart with somebody for a business?
So you can do readings based on business names as well. So our business has its whole identity as of itself, right? So you can do soul plan numerology readings based on the actual business name. I've not actually done one yet. I don't know why. I just haven't got round to it yet, but that's something that you can do. But with all of my business clients, we use the personal name as the basis. So I feel as though it serves really well in terms of looking at the business because it's focused on soul purpose, right? And the kind of business coaching that I'm doing is all about purpose, because I don't believe that we should be in a business that isn't connected to our soul purpose work, right? So I use the personal chart as a basis, and the way that I help people in business coaching, we basically flow through the chart. So we start the journey in the challenges, because I believe that journey needs to happen first in terms of releasing the limiting beliefs, clearing through the blocks, the fears, the challenges. So that really helps us to begin the journey really like wiping the slate clean, really releasing any fears, releasing any blocks, releasing any challenges, so that then my clients are in the energy of more self-confidence, more self-belief, and more self-trust that they can anchor in the gifts. So it flows really well. So we start off doing like some shadow work, some healing, maybe some inner child stuff, maybe some subconscious rewiring, whatever we need to do to clear through the challenges, to move through the challenges. And we then move into the activating the talents and gifts. So making sure that anything they're focusing on within their business, for example, launching or creating, that it is in some way related to their natural strengths and their natural talents and gifts. So, for example, for me, how that might play out is that there'll be more of a heavy focus on the community stuff, because that's such a huge part of who I am. Or there's more of a focus on self-expression, authenticity, because again, that's part of who I am. For some clients, for example, I've got a specific client who's got like manifestation energy all over her soul plan chart. So that's what we're focusing on for her to create sessions, workshops, groups around manifestation, because that's where she's naturally gifted. So we'll use that as a basis to help women to make sure that what they're creating, what they're offering to the world is in alignment with their soul plan, numerology. And then we look at the goals and make sure that any goals and intentions that we're setting again is in line with the soul plan numerology chart. But yeah, it'd be interesting to do some of the business name readings, because I'm sure that adds like a whole nother layer. And for example, like you as well, you have a whole nother layer to your soul plan numerology because you're using a different name, right? So there's so much to it. You could you could be working with your soul plan chart endlessly because like any nicknames that you use, any name changes that you have, all of it is going to have an impact. But we always start with the birth name because that's the original blueprint that the soul chose, and that never changes.
Right, right. I love what you're doing and the way that you explain it, because it feels like it's like this soul plan is giving you a blueprint of where your
Yeah,
strengths are.
yeah,
And why don't you use that instead of going in this other area where everything is maybe a little bit more complicated? You have this fountain of strength and more easy path and just a lot of more supportive energy, I feel, in that sense. So it's beautiful that if you can just help people there, then it's probably helping so much all of the parts of their business, because then they use their strength, they go get the energy there that they already carry within their soul. So it's not like pushing, pulling, and there's probably less contradiction in the energy or resistance or anything like that.
yeah, for sure. It's so powerful. And I do always say, this is all of this at some point you probably would have figured out for yourself, but it would have taken so much longer than learning it within your soul plan numerology chart, right? Or it's not brand new information that you don't already know about yourself, but it's really just bringing it up to the surface, highlighting it and making it really clear, so that then you can run with the information and have real like confidence and trust in probably what you're already thinking and feeling. It's like affirming those things.
Right. So beautiful. You're such a beautiful soul. I'm so excited. So everyone that wants to connect with you, we will leave all of the details for your social media, your website, everything. Do you want to leave us with any last words, beautiful soul?
I don't think so. If anyone is interested in soul plan numerology, please do reach out. Because as I said, I'm on a mission to help more people know about it. And I know it's quite in depth. It can maybe sound a little bit overwhelming or confusing, but it makes sense. Like once you connect to it, once you receive the reading, it will resonate on a soul level. That's what I always say. It resonates on a soul level rather than the logical mind needing to understand it. So yeah, if anyone does have any questions, then do feel free to get in touch with any of the details that you shared. And yeah, it's been a pleasure. I could talk about this all day. So it's always a pleasure to come and to talk about soul plan.
Thank you so much, beautiful soul. So please reach out to Jasmine if you need anything, if you want to have this beautiful blueprint for your business, for yourself, for any parts of wherever you are on your spiritual path. And thank you again for your lovely sharing, beautiful soul. It was a pleasure to see you here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.